Hello everyone and welcome to the Dragon Code. In this video we are going to write our first C++ program, so let's start. What is C++? It is object-oriented programming language created by Danish computer scientist Bjarne Strauss Strapp in 1980s. It is a superset of C programming language and it is good for large-scale applications. For writing C++ programs, you need to choose development environment or compiler. I'll use Visual Studio 2022, although you can use any compiler or development environment you want. To install Visual Studio 2022, type it in the search bar of the web browser and then go to the Download Visual Studio Tools. Here you have option to install community version, which is free. When you come in this section during installation, make sure you choose Desktop Development with C++ workload, which is required for writing C++ programs. Now we can write C++ programs. Open Visual Studio and then click Create a new project. Search for C++ empty project and then name it. I'll name it First Project. Then click Create. And our project is created. Now we first need to add source file. Right-click on the source file, add new item, and choose C++ file and press add. Here we are going to write our C++ program. Each C++ program must have main function. In this video I'm writing main function like this, but it is the wrong way. It may work at the beginning, but it can cause problems later. According to C++ standard, you should write main function like this. So instead of void, write int, and you also need to add this return statement. Just write main function like this instead of way I did it in this video. You also need to add iostream header file which belongs to C++ standard library. It will allow us to work with input and output objects like cout and cin. Not just in C++, but in any other programming language, library is collection of objects and functions which are already created, and to use it, you just need to include it. You should also use standard namespace. It will make easier to write input and output objects. Now I will use cout object to print the text. Let's run this program. As you can see, here is the text I wrote in the code. You don't have to add namespace like this. You can remove this line of code, but then you will need to use namespace each time you use object from standard library. In that case, you need std keyword and double column operator. The result is same. But why they are namespaces? Namespaces are used to avoid conflicts between different libraries in C++. If you include header file from another library other than standard, and if that library has cout object, during compile time, when the code is converted to the machine code, compiler won't know from which library to use cout object. This is why we need namespaces. If you don't understand this well, don't worry. It isn't necessary. Just remember that it is basic setup code for writing C++ programs. Because I won't use objects from another libraries, I would add namespace like this. Let's move back to the cout object. To print text with cout object, you need to write cout keyword, double less than sign operator, and you need to put text, also called string, inside double quotation marks, and you need to put semicolon at the end of the line. Semicolon is used to end each line of code in C++. What else can you do with cout object? You can print numbers. You can print results of arithmetic operations. 55 plus 5 is 60. How to move text in the new line? If I add another cout object and run this code, text won't be moved in the new line. There are two ways to add text in the new line. First is with endLine object. Another way is to add \n inside double quotations mark. You can add multiple new lines like this, or like this. You can also use horizontal tab \t, which will add 8 white spaces. If you want to print double quotation marks, you won't be able to do so because they are used for strings, and then C++ will misunderstood that. But to avoid that confusion, you can use \. And now quotation marks are printed. The last thing I'm going to cover in this video are comments. Comments don't have any functionality in code, but they are used to explain the code. It can be useful both for you and the people who will look at your code and use it. You would know your code well at the time you're writing it, but if you don't use your code for a month or more and then come back to it, you would probably forget details about your code. With comments, you would quickly remind your code. There are two types of commands in C++, single-lined and multi-lined. Single-lined command starts with double slash. While multi-line command starts with slash asterisk and ends with asterisk slash. For example, I can give explanation for this line of code. Of course, you won't use explanations for such simple things in code, but for more complex, it is useful to have explanation. So use commands in the case you want to remove some part of code at the time, but you want to use that part of code later. And instead of deleting it, you can just comment it. And now, when I run this code, this line of code is avoided. And if I want to use this line of code back, I just need to uncomment this. And this will work again. There's also a shortcut for commenting code. Select code you want to comment, hold Ctrl and press KC. To uncomment this, hold Ctrl and press KU. This is all for this video. In the next lesson, we will cover variables. If you like this video, press like button and subscribe, and see you the next time.